welcome to another episode of The Modern Surgeon Life. Today I'm going to talk to you about my experience with blood flow resistance training. And I'm going to start by saying that this doesn't constitute medical advice. I'm really just sharing my experience using blood flow resistance as a part of my workout routine. So I came around to this in a kind of an unusual way, in that over the winter last year I developed some really severe tendonitis in my elbow, and I think it was brought on by really heavy lifting primarily. And I found that I was unable to get through my workouts without a bunch of pain, and so I took some time off. It got better, and then it came right back again. And this was all really unfortunate because it was in the middle of a bulk that I had started a couple of months earlier, and I thought, boy, I'm really going to hate to lose the gains that I made in muscle mass because of this injury. And so I started looking at alternative ways to work out, and started looking at doing lower weights and higher rep exercises, doing more things in sort of the hypertrophy range if you read into exercise science. And I came across an article that talked about blood flow resistance training. And this is kind of a hip thing right now. You may have seen there was an article in which Mark Wahlberg said that he was using blood flow resistance training. But I started to do a little more digging into this, and what I found was that there's actually a couple of decades worth of science behind the notion of blood flow resistance training. And then not only that, you're starting to see its use in serious athletes, endurance athletes, performance athletes, and things like skiing. And so as I dug more and more into it, I was really intrigued by this idea. And so the thought behind blood flow resistance training is that you use resistance bands or cuffs to occlude blood flow to and from a limb during a workout. And with that, you're obviously creating a condition of ischemia where the tissue is not getting enough oxygen. And as a result, you get lactic acid buildup, you get release of things like insulin-like growth factor and growth hormone. And with that, you see phenomenal increases in muscle hypertrophy while using lower weight. And so for me, an athlete who was formerly a Division I track athlete in the Big Ten, but as I get older, I find myself more and more injury prone, and as a result, things that allow me to do good workouts without putting a lot of strain on my joints really are appealing to me. And so I decided to give this a try, and I looked at different brands selling blood flow resistance bands and things like that, and ultimately I settled on Be Strong. I'm not sponsored by Be Strong, they're not sponsoring this video, but I really have enjoyed working with the Be Strong product, and so I'll tell you a little bit more about my experiences with it. So essentially, with blood flow resistance training, I kind of explained the principles behind it, but the workout itself is very different than a traditional strength training workout. The idea when you're building muscle with a traditional strength training workout is you'll get the most results by lifting heavier weights. Obviously, you have to combine that with proper diet and so forth, but the idea behind the muscle hypertrophy has to do with lifting increasingly heavier weights and the concept of progressive overload. So in any event, in blood flow resistance training, you absolutely do not want to lift heavier weights. In fact, you don't want to lift anything more than about 20% of your one rep max at the very most when you're doing these exercises. And so what you do is, and I'll demonstrate a little bit here with my Be Strong cuffs, is that you essentially take the cuffs. I'll show you, put them on my legs and arms here. And when I started this, I tried to kind of focus on the target area. So if I was working out my legs, for example, I would only use the leg cuffs. As time's gone by, I used both sets of cuffs for my entire workout, regardless of what muscle groups I'm focusing or which extremities I'm focusing my attention on. And so you put these on. With the leg cuffs, you want to put them as high up on the legs while you're seated as you can. With these arm cuffs, You want to put them in between your deltoid and biceps. And so then, with Be Strong, you've got a blood pressure cuff, essentially, or sphygmomanometer. And what you do is you inflate the cuff to a pressure that's going to lead to at least some partial limb occlusion. And so for me right now, I am doing my workouts at a lower extremity cuff pressure of 340 and an upper extremity cuff pressure of 240. So then, when I'm doing the workout, and there are lots of different ways to do this. Be Strong actually has an app that has lots of different workout plans and things designed specifically for use with the Be Strong cuffs. I actually just continued to do my regular workout routine, but in terms of the types of exercises, but I modified it in that with Be Strong, or with blood flow resistance, again, you only want to lift about 20% of your 1 rep max, and you want to do high reps with the exercises. And so I do 3 sets of 30, which is what's recommended for most of the blood flow resistance exercises. And so this again puts you into the hypertrophy range for traditional exercise. And so when I'm, the way that Be Strong recommends that you do this is that you adjust your cuff pressure until your workout allows you to get the first set done without issue, to feel a little bit tired in the second set, and the third set is essentially to failure. So you may not get all 30 reps when you do that third set, and that's optimal levels of fatigue. And Be Strong, you can look at it on the app, or the kit comes with a little card that shows you how to adjust your pressure up and down depending on the level of fatigue that you have when you're doing the exercise. There's some really important safety things when you're doing the blood flow resistance, and again, Be Strong is very good because it has instructional videos that tell you about safe use of the product and safe blood flow resistance training in general. And with it, what it'll tell you is that one, you have to stay hydrated. Obviously, this is very important prior to doing this workout. The second thing is that your workout really shouldn't last longer than 20 minutes. And so to do that, with those 3 sets of 30 reps, each one, I only take a 30-second break in between. And so it's a very fast-paced workout. The nice thing is it really gets a good hard workout in a very short time frame. Now, one of the things I wondered about when I was doing this was I thought, well, this is really great. Like if I'm lifting, if I'm doing calf raises, for example, this is going to be really good for lifting with my calves, and I'll probably see some nice benefit to lifting with my calf muscles because of the limb occlusion. But the data would suggest, and Be Strong points out, that even doing exercises that are proximal, so if I'm going to do bench presses or things like that, that the even muscles that are proximal to the cuff, you will still see measurable benefit in those areas in terms of strength and hypertrophy. And that has certainly been my experience in working with the Be Strong cuffs over this time period. So again, I stuck with my regular workout routine. I had to modify a couple of exercises just to allow it to fit within the time frame. But all in all, I did the same workouts. And remember, I told you I was coming through a bulk, so I finished out my bulk, and I actually started using Be Strong when I was in the middle of a cut. So I was cutting excess body fat while trying to maintain muscle. And I was floored by the success that I experienced with this. I managed to drop about 10 pounds of total body weight. With that though, I dropped my body fat from 13% to 10%, And yet in my measurements in terms of my chest and through my butt and thighs and so forth, all of those areas remained about the same. So I really was able to cut a lot of fat. I was able to maintain muscle mass while lifting really light weights. So I think the heaviest weight I lift when I do a blood flow resistance routine is about 20 pounds when I'm lifting, when I'm doing a bench press. I guess it's a little heavier for the legs, but in terms of arm weights, I'm using little dumbbells to do most of these weights, and so it really ends up being a very intense workout. And that's the other thing I'll say again. I was a former high-level distance runner, and one of the things that I never really liked about weightlifting was that when I was lifting weights, I never really felt like I got much of a workout. I mean, I knew I get sore afterward and so forth, but I never experienced that that real wow, I'm sweating this out. I really worked hard. I'm struggling at the end of this workout because it's so hard on my body. And in a 30-minute workout total, because I do some exercises without the blood flow resistance bands, in a 30-minute workout total, I get done with that and I feel like I've gone for a good, hard, long run. And it's really a neat feeling knowing that I achieved that by lifting light weights. Now, with this, again, you have to be careful. There are some things that can happen if you occlude your limbs and you're not taking proper care. I had a couple of instances where, and again, Be Strong kind of warned me about this, where I felt lightheaded and weak. When I hit that point, I stopped. The last thing in the world I wanted to do is pass out on the floor of the gym and have these cuffs up and end up having rhabdomyolysis in my arms and legs because no one knew that these cuffs were up and they were causing my limbs to be ischemic. So in any event, I think it ends up being a great workout, but you really have to know your body. You have to pay attention to what's going on with it so that you don't end up getting hurt. And again, you can do some serious damage if you end up in rhabdomyolysis. You end up with a kidney injury and kidney failure if you do this wrong. And so I really want to emphasize heeding the safety instructions for a blood flow resistance workout. Beyond that, though, again, I've been nothing but pleased with the results. I mentioned during the cut my progress with that, but here through the summer, I've continued to do blood flow resistance training. I do weights with the BFR bands about 3 times a week, 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how busy I am taking care of patients. And with that, again, I've lost very little in the way of muscle mass. My weight has hovered kind of within a couple of pounds of where it was at the end of the cut. I've again managed to sort of maintain the measurements that I had at the beginning of the summer. In fact, I think I probably have a little bit more definition as as that body fat has melted away a little bit after the bulk. And so all in all, I've been really pleased with the progress. I've loved my experience with blood flow resistance training, and I would recommend it to anyone who is looking for a change up to their workout. They're going to use this to supplement what they're already doing in the weight room. Someone who, like me, is getting older and the joint stress is just too much for the old elbows and knees. This allows you to get a comparable workout in terms of the strength and hypertrophy that you can achieve with these things, while not adding that joint strain by lifting those big, massive, heavy weights that you usually need to do in order to continue to make progress. So again, wonderful experience, and I really enjoyed it. If you like the look of the Be Strong bands, you can go to their website. It's Be Strong. That's letter B strong.com, and you can look into their product. But you can do your own homework. There are other companies that make bands. I found a series of reviews out there on the internet about different blood flow resistance bands and the pros and cons. And these are what worked for me. I especially like the little carrying case since I travel for leisure and work, and I can take that with me and get my same workout in while I'm on the road as I do while I'm at home. So all in all, again, nothing but positive things to say about this, and really pleased with the progress and results I've experienced as a result of it. So that's it. That's my quick wrap up of blood flow resistance training. If people like this, I'm glad to share in the future what some of my workouts look like in terms of what my daily splits are and those sorts of things. I'm also happy to tell you, and I will definitely share this at some point, how I managed to gain over the course of the pandemic about 30 pounds of muscle during that time period by changing my diet, by lifting weights, by adding the blood flow resistance, and using all of those things together in order to do that, and just overall kind of get my body, again, in my late 40s, into maybe the best shape that it's ever been. So hopefully that would be interesting to you. And if it is, I will encourage you to follow on Twitter at Surgeon Modern, follow on YouTube or subscribe on YouTube at The Modern Surgeon, and to follow on Instagram at Modern Surgeon Life. Thanks again for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future. Take care.